You would think with audio, video, all that good stuff, they'll be able to catch this guy. All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about the Delphi case. Now, I'm sure many of you know all about it. I'm sure some of you might not. So we're going to go over the basics. Then we're going to talk about some recent news that seems very promising in possibly getting a resolution to this. I'm pretty hopeful with what I've been seeing lately. But we're going to go ahead and give you some backstory first, okay? Um, the two girls that this is about is 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German. Now, Abby and Libby are BFFs in 8th grade at their local middle school. This town of Delphi that they live in has less than 3,000 residents, so this is small town living at its best, which I'm a big fan of. I like small towns. I like it. So it all begins on February 13th, 2017, around 1:45 p.m. Abby and Libby are dropped off at the Delphi Historical Trails. They're dropped off by Kelsey, which is Liberty's older sister. They plan to do some hiking and would be picked up later by Liberty's father, Derek. The plan was Derek would call the girls when he got there, text them, they'd come and meet him at the parking area, and that was the plan. Well, Derek texts Liberty around 3:11. And, mind you, they were only dropped off at 1:45. So this isn't even a full hour and a half later when he texts to tell the girls he's, almost there. I think he got there at like 3:15. He gets no response. So initially, I don't think he thought a lot about it, maybe their phone was off or something like that. But after several calls and messages go unanswered, Derek begins walking the trails himself, starts looking for the girls. At approximately 3:30, so I guess 15 minutes later, he's having no luck, so he gives a call to Liberty's grandma, who they described as Liberty's primary caregiver. So Liberty lived with her grandparents. 4 o'clock comes around. Grandma has no success either. She gives Grandpa a call. His name's Mike. Grandma's Becky and Grandpa's Mike. Well, Mike, I'm assuming, went there to help. No luck. 5:30 p.m. It's starting to get dark. And the call is finally made. Well, I'm not going to say finally because, this isn't 2 hours after, they started trying to contact them. They make the call to law enforcement and report the girls as missing. Around 6 o'clock, the search begins. Over 100 locals from the area and law enforcement begin to search, and they search through the night. And that's awesome, man. To have 100 locals help out in the search with a town that's less than 3,000, that says a lot about the town of Delphi. Y'all got a really good town, And I don't think anybody should have their idea of Delphi skewed because of this. Because, when you get 100 people out to search for a couple girls, in a town that small, that's pretty good. Pretty good. So they searched through the night, like I said, no luck. Then the next day, they make a discovery. The girls are found, and it's not good. They're found approximately half a mile from the bridge, and it's obvious to law enforcement that this was no accident. Law enforcement's been really tight-lipped about how they were found. They haven't said nothing. And, I'm assuming that's because they're saving that for their suspect. Because if he knows anything about what happened, then he's pretty much implementing himself by having that knowledge. Now, when they're found, they find a phone. And apparently, and this is just speaks a ton of how, to be this young, how smart these girls were. Liberty had managed to get this stranger on video and recording. And apparently, she did a really good job of it because, you see in the video, it's a pretty good shot of him, and somehow she managed to do that without him seeing her phone. So that's, that's great. And, it really makes you want some justice for these two, because they've practically handed you what you need to solve this. This is upsetting to me how this all went down, just to put it out there. I tell you what, they raised a lot of money for this too. Says $200,000 was raised pretty quickly to help with the investigation, billboards, this and that kind of thing, and that's great. It's great that they got that much money together to help with this. The police have served 12 search warrants, so they've been through quite a lot of suspects, and we'll get into that. There was also a Dr. Phil episode about this. So, this got a lot of attention. A lot. And they released a sketch on an eyewitness description. Now, this sketch is odd to me, and you're going to see why in just a minute. They had 26,000 tips in this case. That may be the most I've heard of doing this so far. That's a lot of tips. 26,000. That's a lot. Now, I'm sure there was quite a few people trying to get revenge on somebody for something they've done, and they just wanted to, get them hassled or harassed or whatever, but still, that's a lot. It's really awesome they was managed. That's a lot of tips. Now, there's been a number of suspects throughout this. Now, I don't know, the police haven't named them as suspects, but these names have came up throughout this. And there's been a few of them, and all of them had prior history of nefarious activity, is what we'll say. And there's been quite a few of them. I'm not going to go through all of them because apparently they didn't pan out, or we wouldn't be where we're at today. One of them, though, I would talk about is Charles Eldridge. This guy had a bad history, and he had a really uncanny resemblance to the first sketch. And that's why this sketch thing's got me a little confused. And 2 years later, in 2019, they released a new sketch. And it's odd because this new sketch looks nothing like the first sketch. They also released, more of the video and audio of the suspect saying down the hill. They said they think he's between the age range of 18 to 40. So that doesn't narrow it down much. That's a pretty wide age range to be looking at. 22 years. Could be as young as just got his driver's license to as old as, having to wear the over the heel t-shirts. So that's a very broad range in age for the suspect. And the reward is currently up to $225,000. And I'd like to say, somebody that I knew before all this, his name's Pat McAfee. He was a punter in the NFL, but he went to college at WVU. He and I think it was the Colts owner matched a big chunk of money on this reward. I think it was like 90-some thousand. And that's, just the basic overview of the case up until this point. Now, we have a new suspect. So, the new suspect, his name is Keegan Klein. Now, Keegan Klein is currently incarcerated. And he's incarcerated on a bunch of charges that you would think whoever did this in Delphi would probably do stuff like the things he's incarcerated for. I think we all know what that is. I don't want to say it because I get my stuff flagged, but you guys know what I'm saying. But there's a couple of odd ones on there too. And the charges have to do with he was catfishing, apparently. And what he was doing was he had made up this, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure they've already connected it to him. There's this social media profile, and the name on it is Anthony Schatz. And it's this young dude, good-looking guy. He seems to be, whoever this guy is, has a lot of money. It shows all kinds of nice new cars and all kinds of good stuff like that in the profile. Now, this dude, Keegan Klein, has apparently been using that profile to catfish under 20 or under 18 people. And this guy is a bad dude. I'm hoping I can find a picture of this cat to show you, because he is a bad dude. He's already in jail, like I said. But what was interesting is, just like 2 weeks after this happened in Delphi, he was, they searched his house and all that good stuff. Now, that was really strange to me, because a lot of this stuff they charged him for was from 2016, 2017, yet he wasn't charged until August of 2020. So, if he was doing that stuff way back then he did it for a lot longer than he should have been able to be doing it. He should have been charged a lot earlier, you would think. It's not very specific about when they actually found all this, but you would think when they searched his house, with this dude's history, that they'd have found something in there, Regardless, this is being brought up as the big suspect today. And I'm telling you, with this guy's background, I think there's a good shot that they might have their guy. I hope so. Because you don't want this kind of person out and about doing craziness. Now, what was also interesting is, this guy's in jail now, but they recently went back to his father's house, which is where he was living, and removed some stuff. They actually took his dog. So, there could be some kind of forensic link to an animal, maybe some hairs were found, something to that effect, and that's about as good as DNA in my book, because they can match that up to a specific animal. So hopefully there's going to be enough to get somebody, because I just want to say, man, these girls, it was awful this happened, but man, the fact that they was able to get video and audio of this and all this just makes you cringe that they haven't been able to solve it yet. I know they're working hard. I know they are. You can tell, man. I've watched a lot of these interviews with the local police and stuff like that. And they're good people. You can tell this really upsets them, and they are really wanting some justice. So I'm hoping that in the end, they're going to get their justice. And I want to mention something else. I'm really perplexed as to why the composite sketch changed so drastically. You know, I know the first one was supposed to have been based on eyewitness testimony. The second one I never really heard, but it's so bizarre, the difference in the two sketches. It definitely doesn't look like it's the same person. And you know, one thing that popped in my mind, maybe there's more than one person, you know? Because there was two of them, and you would think it'd be hard to control two people. And I know that they said that these girls were great friends and they would never left one another, and that's really pulls at your heartstrings too, you know. But let's all say a little prayer, you know, and pray for justice for these two girls. And you know, I think it's Abigail's sister. Let me just hold right there for a second. I'm sorry, Liberty's sister, Kelsey. She seems like a really sweet girl too, and I'd like to see her get some justice, man. She is such a good kid. You never hear her speak ill of the time it's taken and all that. You know, she's really positive about how the police are doing things and all that. And I thought that was exceptional, her attitude, because a lot of the time you don't see that. You know, a lot of the time you see victims' family members just railing on the police because they haven't solved it yet. And you know, I really honestly feel like all detectives want to solve the cases. They really want to. They don't need that open case out there, you know. And you think anybody that goes into that line of work is really dedicated to solving cases. So I believe, you know, like I've said before, 99% of the police are great people, and they do this because they care and they want to make a difference. So I want everybody to remember that, you know. Just be patient. I feel like there's going to be some resolution to this, and hopefully it's going to be really soon. So that's my little Delphi case in a nutshell. Let me know what you think, and as always, I'll see you later, guys.